Man, there's been a lot going around when it comes to their inclusion and Tulane's inclusion in the CFP. And all I'm going to say about it is that if the CFP expands to 16 teams next season, if it does, you're more than likely going to have 2 group of 6 bids automatic in the new structure. That's probably how it's going to go. Oh, we don't want to see Tulane or James Madison play football. We want to see the big dogs. And I was watching this video from a person who's an Alabama fan. And his point is honestly a fair one. It makes sense. Even as me being a fucking Ohio State fan, a fan of the team, that won the whole fucking thing last year, I can sit here and tell you right now that it's not just the SEC in the Big Ten and the ACC in the Big 12 that are the only schools playing football at this time. Clearly. Why the fuck do you think they call this Bowl Mania? You think those 4 conferences are the only ones that the college football world revolves around? In terms of money, yes. But the beauty of college football is that there are, again, a ton of different atmospheres that you get exposed to over the course of a given season. Hell, over the course of your entire time on a campus, just being around some of those places. And it gets you so passionate about this fucking game that you don't want to, if you have a chance to contend, you don't want to see that opportunity come to a close. You want to make sure that your team is in a position to continue fighting, because you would do anything in that given situation to support that team that you call your favorite, or support that team that is your home team, or however you've fostered a connection with that given squad. You want to see them keep going and ultimately reach the mountaintop in some fashion. And every single conference should have that right. Every single conference should have that right. Because at the end of the day, there are literally 128 schools and counting, with other schools set to come in to D1, I believe, FBS play. They do deserve their shot at some point. I guess y'all are so hard pressed and just so fucking traditional about having all of these big name schools into the conversation. But the mere second that they include 1 or 2 teams from group of 6 conferences, you lose your mind. You are absolutely fucking spoiled. You are absolutely spoiled. Because hell, you saw exactly what was going down when it was detailed that, okay, we're going to give automatic bids to the best team out of the group of 6. You saw some of the better seasons, regardless of however you want to detail their respective schedules. You saw them constantly beating up on each other throughout the season just to have a shot to get in. And Tulane rightfully got in. James Madison, again, as I said, had been killing it in the FCS for all that time, had been killing it once they started getting in the FBS, and to just understand how twisted it is, they had to rely on a 5-loss Duke team just to get their right to play in the postseason. That shit is fucked up. It truly is. And what did James Madison proceed to do? Yes, 14 of those points did come up against backup players in the fourth quarter. We can't deny that. But we also cannot sit here and deny that they put up 34 points. Only the second time Oregon's defense has allowed over 30 points all season long. And that other time was the Indiana team that proceeded to beat them in what was a historic victory for them in their school's history. They also combined for a total of about 500 fucking yards. No matter how much of that you may consider garbage time, it's in the stat book, it's in the history books forever, and you can't fucking erase that. Cry harder. Cry harder. Seriously. You are absolutely fucking spoiled if you can't handle two fucking teams from different conferences that are not of the major four, the power four. In this changing landscape, you best believe there's going to be some more love spread around to everybody else. That's just how it is. Now again, next year, again, if it changes, like James Madison would be a de facto team to get in there automatically. They had to luck out just because Duke ended up beating fucking trash-ass Virginia in the ACC. Instead of understanding that even if you do want to crap on their schedule, by nature, they did every single thing they needed to do to get in. And they won their conference title. Like, oh my, like literally. One of the first season they got in FBS play. And again, that's by the rules of the NCAA. They went undefeated and still were not in consideration or were not deemed eligible enough to get in at that point. And they almost missed out again this year. So I, for one, was definitely excited to see them get in. And yes, it went about as you would typically expect. But in the same way, it didn't, on paper, look that bad, to be honest with you. It did not. And they got Oregon in situations where they forced them into mistakes. It wasn't a perfect pitch from Dante Moore like you'd be expecting. They got after him a few good times. And ultimately, there's going to be a point in which you have a situation where a group of 16 could potentially upset a Power 4 conference squad. And what the hell are you going to do then? Maybe you don't want it to be your team, but at the very least, man, you got to have some respect overall. Like another great point in that video that I'll definitely be sure to put in the cards somewhere. It's like, yo, you understand that even if these guys at these other schools aren't on the same plane in terms of recruiting, ranking, or anything like that, in terms of like 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, they may not be on the same level there. That's fine. That's fine. But they have just as much of a right to put it all on the line and play for something meaningful as the rest of these other people in any other fucking conference. So why the fuck should it matter? Why the fuck should it matter to just have 2 automatic bids in there for these other conferences to play towards something meaningful? The entire field is dominated by Power 4 teams as it is, which again, that comes down to money, obviously. But you also, again, you have Notre Dame, an independent school, actively having a chance. If they get into the top 12, it is written in documentation that they have a chance to get into the CFP automatically if they are a top 12 team. And we could be giving them a whole hell of a lot of shit for doing that. Only it makes sense for them because they're not in a conference and they can't play for a conference championship to secure it fully. And they have to be in the top 12. That is a fact. So we move on with that, but we can't give that right to a group of 6 team or a couple of group of 6 teams that potentially went out their schedule, that potentially went out their conference. We can't give that same grace there, and we have to bitch and complain the whole fucking time about that. That's like, no, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. And that shit has to stop. That has to stop. It has to stop, bro. Like, damn. Like, I understand, again, being in the Power 4, you don't want to give a complete and total leg up to the other conferences. But if you're going to constantly label yourselves that, well, you are the arbiters in ways of this entire thing. The entire committee is dominated by people from Power 4 programs. Think about that shit. And again, maybe that can make sense in a way. But again, you have that in mind. Yet even they ended up coming to a conclusion as a committee with obviously some other language in there. And hey, okay, we have room for a couple. So why is the discourse amongst general fan bases that, oh, we can't bear to have James Madison in Tulane in the fucking CFP? Because Texas should have gotten in, because Vanderbilt should have gotten in, because BYU should have fucking gotten in. And honestly, all of those schools, if it expands to a 16-team format next year, would say that they could honestly get in those situations. Just have some patience and shut the fuck up. Honestly, at that point. Because all the talk around it is just you complaining. You're complaining actively. Like, damn, we understand that the team that you are probably a fan of remaining in this college football playoff, and hell yeah, I can fucking say that because I've been a fan of the team for over a decade. The Alabama fan has probably been a fan of the team since around the age of his fucking birth. Where those are teams that are actively in the driver's seat. And you are complaining and crying because some of the other guys with actual authority in the situation are saying, you know what? Yes, we have this fully concentrated with Power 4 schools. But you know what? We're going to give a chance to the other guys. We're going to give them a couple of chances. No, they're not anticipating a potential upset. But giving them a chance to play for something that could be truly impactful to their viability as a program. Truly. Like, of course, a lot of the concentration would be on Oregon in, say, a game like this. And I mean, their stars performed. They didn't have to do that much. Fine. But do you know what that kind of exposure could do for a school like that? Especially with the fact that after this game, Chesney Jr.'s going to UCLA now. And one of the things that I was seeing through my Fox Sports feed, even without looking at it fully, one of the main takeaways that this Fox Sports analyst RJ Young had from the situation was that JMU was going to be just fine without Chesney Jr. They're going to be just fine. And they could potentially get some extra ammunition from having potentially just a good set of eyes even if it's just a few in totality, looking at them, looking at what they put on display and saying, you know what, I want to go to James Madison. Even if it's going to be frowned upon. You know how many people came after Travis Hunter initially when he decided to flip from Florida State to Jackson State. Oh, they couldn't stand it. But with this in mind, with this in play, more of that could happen. And that could potentially become a little bit of the norm, more than the outlier, consistently. Like, it's not completely the case that you don't develop talent there at all that can go to the NFL. You find diamonds in the rough all the time. I still think back to hearing something about the fact that Brian Urlacher came from like New Mexico State or something like that. Watching one of the games last night, and again, I'm not going to fully recap it, but one of the Ellis brothers is from fucking Idaho? So you can't do that. You find diamonds in the rough all the time. And why would it hurt to get them just a little more exposure? I mean, damn, you got it all. You're set. Why are you crying? Like, come on, dude.